You're listening to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. This is your host, Kiyan Sobhani, and today, Monday the 29th, I am joined by my friend, my co-host, Diego Lorijn, to talk about La Liga. Diego, how are you doing, my friend?
Very good, very good. Every week, your pronunciation of my last name gets a little bit better, so we're moving in the right direction. I like it.
Did you know I've misspelled your name 8 million different ways every time?
Much, I know. But you know what? You're not the only one, and it's so funny, especially obviously living in Spain. Nobody can get my last name spelled correctly. But when I say nobody, I literally mean nobody. Even when I spell it out for them, it goes good until it hits the IJ. So Lori, that all good, and then I pronounce the J, and then it's just like short circuit in the brain, and things go haywire, and people put in whatever they want except for J, and they put Z's, they put more I's, and you were a fan of the repeated I's, I think it was, but yeah. The pronunciation is getting...
What's the worst you've gotten? What's the worst butchering of your last name?
In terms of pronunciation or the writing?
Pronunciation.
The pronunciation, nobody, it doesn't sound basically worse than an American saying Lorijn. When I hear Lorijn, the Lorijn, I just like, I feel shivers going down the back of my spine, sick in the stomach, things churning inside of my head. I can't stand the Lorijn, especially that.
Well, first time I saw it, for some reason I saw two L's instead of one L, so I would say Yorin, and that was
the Yorin.
That yeah.
I liked that. That was a nice touch.
That's incorrect.
A little Basque. That is incorrect. Yeah, but I liked it, and I'll tell you what as well. The funniest pronunciation was Lorijn. And sometimes my friends still call me Lorijn.
Well,
that was actually
honest, it sounds better than Lorijn.
It does. He was this. He came from Eastern Europe, and he said Diego Lorijn, and we were just pissing ourselves. That was a good one.
It is very rare that anyone can pronounce my name. Even after, usually after a couple tries they get it, but if I tell them, but the first time they see my name, they have no idea. Kiyan,
what is it?
Kiyan is the correct one. Kiyan.
Yeah.
I get Kiyan, cayenne, the pepper. I get that a lot.
Yeah,
Kiyan. Right. And yeah, but it is what it is, and I can't.
But your last name is
Sobhani. Yeah.
Is Lebanese?
Oh no, it's Iranian background. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Painting us all with the same brush, Diego. Good weekend in La Liga. I thought Alaves was going to have it for 1 second. I'm not sure if I truly believed it. I think my subconscious knew what was about to happen, but at the very least, I felt proud of their effort and their performance and the use of their resources.
Yeah, man. Listen, Alaves is the real deal. Hats off to Abelardo's, could we say he's overachieving with that team? I mean, I thought they were unlucky to go out against Valencia in the Copa, but they...
I think that's fair.
They're good side.
He took over, and he's having them playing better than they were. Obviously, they haven't reached the Pellegrino levels, but considering the resources that he has, and Guidetti has never been a prolific goal scorer, especially after his health issues, and you can kind of see that we were all surprised that ball went in, and then we saw the replay and we saw that it hit like 8 parts of his body.
Imagine if he meant to do that. One day, one football player will have actually meant to do something like that. I'm sure of it, and he'll be Brazilian.
Yeah, he'll be Brazilian,
or she.
Sure. No, I when I was watching that counterattack, I was like, "Oh God, it's Guidetti. This is not going in." And I was like, wow, what a great finish. And then you see the replay and he, but I like
it looked awkward.
It looked awkward.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that goes in. And Ter Stegen was really confused. He didn't understand what happened either.
Yeah. And he had been stopping one or two of Guidetti's chances just before that too. So they went up deservedly so, and they played a great match, I thought. And me as well. Especially seeing the way Barca was playing, I thought that, this is it, guys. The La Liga unbeaten streak will come to an end today.
Phenomenal jinxing. So you did the same thing against Sociedad too, publicly. Mm-hmm. When you guys were down 2-0, you're like, "Oh fuck, this is the end of our run." It was nice, but
yeah. Although I have to say, I announced it on Twitter. I said it's coming at some moment in time, especially when when our boys the flanks came back into play, the real flanks. By that I mean, of course, Alba and Sergi Roberto. There was an obvious switch, and from there on, I felt like a goal was going to come. Iniesta was playing. He also decided to up it a level.
I think this was his best game of the season, wasn't it?
He was phenomenal.
He was
man of the match. Yeah. And a lot of talking points, and I'll leave it up to you where you want to take it, but
Well,
tell me. I don't.
Well, I think the story was Alaves played a very straightforward 4-4-2 counterattacking scheme. They played narrow, and they kind of dared Barca to just get the ball to the flanks. And to be honest, neither Dean nor... Is it Dean or Digne? Because it's Digne?
Or here they say Digne.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say, because the Spanish pronunciation, you pronounce every letter. But in France, it's more silent. So... That's why I asked. Both Dina and Semedo didn't really take advantage of that narrow scheme.
Unfortunately.
And then Alba and Semedo come in, obviously, and not only they are probably better at what they do, well, clearly better, to be honest, but also at that point in the game, Alaves was also starting to get a bit tired. The game was getting a bit more open, and it was a good. They were both good subs from Valverde. I was surprised though. As well as Alaves played, as hard as they worked, and how admirable their performance was, I was still actually surprised at how easily they did get in behind Barcelona. But I think Barca played such a high line that, and Alaves played so smart that their counterattacks became efficient because there was space to work with in behind Barca's defense. Usually Barca plays such a high line and they have this counter press and it's efficient, and it's almost impossible to play against them. But I thought Alaves did a really nice job, and players like Sobrino and Guidetti, these guys played really well. And then you had difference makers off the bench that Abelardo could rely on, like Munir and Pedraza, and it looked good. And by the time that Guidetti had scored, that was their third dangerous counterattack. You mentioned Ter Stegen had to save a couple before that, and then I think in the second half early, I think they had a chance to make it 2-0 as well, and I think that was Ibai Gomez, one of those. I don't know, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good performance by them. Moral victory, maybe.
Yeah,
and then you have other talking points, like obviously Coutinho in the front three.
Obviously.
Maybe actually, Diego, this is a good time to segue into a question from our patron, which ties into this discussion. So, for all you listening, patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. You can go there, you can pledge, you can support the show, and support Diego and I on this quest and grow with the podcast. Our first patron question is from Christopher Alex. He says, hello there. Do you guys think Iniesta and Coutinho could play together, or is it too early to say anything on the matter? Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. So what was your evaluation of Coutinho's first start?
Look, everybody and their mamas will have drawn the conclusion from last night's match that Coutinho's position is not on the right-hand side. It's everywhere in the newspapers. We saw it, during the match. It looked out of place. That said, I think it's too quickly to give up on. I think it's too quick to judge and say Iniesta and Coutinho cannot play together because Coutinho's place is not on the right. I would like to see Valverde try it again, and I'm sure that he will. That said, yesterday it was a bad match, according to his standards at least.
Yeah.
And by that, of course, I'm referring to Coutinho. He looked out of place. It was awkward seeing him on the right. He had a bad game. Especially given the electrifying performance that he gave last week against Espanyol in the Copa, which was not sure if you caught that, but he got people off of their seats. It was very exciting. I thought it was very risky as well. I talked about it on D-Spot. I was surprised that Valverde put him in, given the fact that an Espanyol goal would have meant that they would have gone through. So I thought it was a very risky move and bad timing, in all honesty. But, it got the people excited. He showcased his qualities. It worked out. He played amazing. He even had a little caño. And this week it was bad. It was bad. It was bad in all sense. But everybody can have a bad day in the office, and in that sense, there's no season where a league leader doesn't have a bad day, especially when they have to incorporate a megastar the likes of Coutinho. So we can forgive him for that. But to get to the question, I think it's too early to call. I think Valverde will continue to experiment. We've seen him in that position, and we've seen him excel in that, at least excite and be successful in that position. So, let's see.
Well, I mean, we know how well he can cut in from the left and just be terrifying. Mm-hmm. And there were moments in this game against Alaves where he had a couple nice sequences and a couple nice shots. I certainly don't think he was as bad as people said he would be. But your point was that it's not that he was bad, but just relative to know what we can do, we know what he can do, right?
Exactly. And what we saw, of course, last week, where it was the complete opposite. Yeah,
I did see that debut. I actually was amazed at how seamless the transition was. He just slid in and just picked up the ball right away, and looked like he kind of fits seamlessly into this Barcelona identity. Now, albeit against clearly inferior opponent, of course. But it's a good sign at the very least for you guys. I would say that Coutinho is a highly capable player. I wouldn't be too worried about him. It is interesting, the right thing, because Valverde put Dembele there too when he was healthy. When he had just come back from injury, and my theory was that it's because you want to give Jordi Alba the space on the left to just control that entire flank. And Alba didn't start this game, but Digne was the same way. They were trying to use Digne the same way that they use Alba. So that could be a reason for it, but I wonder how attached to that idea Valverde will be. I don't know. It'll be an interesting thing to follow, though. Yeah. As to whether Iniesta and Coutinho can play together, I don't see why not.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. We saw it was Barca used the 4-4-2, where the midfield was an interesting one, and on paper one that you think would work. I repeat, I would expect it to be repeated. I don't think Valverde is one to give up so quickly on a system that has been bringing him results so far this season. So, the obvious question is I think how often we will see Semedo and Digne start as opposed to Alba and Roberto, because I think that is really where the success is. Kind of it's not even a secret anymore. It's maybe the best kept secret at some point, but Barca has blossomed so much because of those two that I think maybe the difference wasn't that in the fact that those two were not playing, and Busquets, of course. I mean, we saw that without Busquets, there's no party. So,
right. Yeah. No, that's true. Paulinho is, to me, not an anchor of someone who can command, obviously, the way Busquets can, and distribute the way he can. But he's very good as a secondary midfielder who you don't rely on as an anchor, who can just bomb up forward and create havoc with his runs off the ball and score goals.
Yeah.
But that's the point. Towards your question, how often will we see Digne and and Semedo started and Busquets on the bench, not very often. We know that Valverde probably saw this game as a good opportunity to rest. There's like an 8 million point lead, and it's Alaves at home. So, questions from Twitter. Got to tie into this discussion, okay? You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to read two in one go. At Madridista Isco says La Liga referees and the level they keep getting worse and worse every year.
Here we go. Wait, hold on.
Uh-huh.
How many minutes are we in? Because I was expecting this to come, this question / comment to creep up a lot quicker. And I commend you, Kiyan / Hardcore Madridista, for not bringing the referee into this discussion until how many minutes in? I don't know.
Almost 15.
20 minutes in?
I was trying to be respectful.
A round of applause to you. Go ahead.
That actually wasn't even a question. It was just a comment about the referees being shit.
Okay.
And then at Cgons0119 on Twitter says, how do you feel about Barcelona breaking the record of the most league games without conceding a penalty? February 14th marks their 2-year anniversary. So here's the funny thing about all this. The Twitter blew up after this game with all this referee talk and all these stats, and Barcelona haven't conceded a penalty. I was like, yeah, that's great and that's all true, but why is this all of a sudden becoming a thing now after that non-penalty call, which wasn't even a penalty? I was actually shocked at how many respectable journalists on Twitter were outraged about that call, the handball in Umtiti.
Yeah.
That was not a penalty. There's nothing you can do about that.
Correct. Exactly. Pique and Umtiti, for that matter. I agree. I was surprised by the outrage. Even here locally, journalists who are references of mine, crying, maybe not, but at least complaining about the so-called handballs, which again, in my opinion, and even how they have ex-referees and stuff on the programs, they were outlining why there were not penalties, and still they insisted that there were penalty calls. And the only thing that I can really agree with is Alcácer's offside position
on the free kick, right? Yeah, on
the free kick, right? I mean, that, yes, I can. Okay, he was offside, correct. But in terms of the penalty calls, no, man, come on.
Okay. So here's my stance on this, and I think you'd be surprised. And I was in no rush to bring this debate up because I generally hate talking about referees. That wasn't a penalty. Having said that, yes, Barcelona have not conceded a penalty in a long time, and yes, I think they should have conceded a few. And someone put out a compilation today of all the penalties that Mascherano has gotten away with.
I think I saw you liking that. That's how I got to see that.
Jeez, I have no privacy anymore. I can't like things without people saying. Yes, I did like it. Because I've suffered because of Mascherano non-calls myself as a fan before. Now, having said that, and Om and I discussed it on the Manager Madrid podcast last night. I hate this childish back and forth thing between culés and Madridistas saying who gets screwed more by the referee.
Yeah,
we all get screwed. We all get favored. And guess what? No one has. What about those smaller teams in La Liga who are getting screwed every single week, and they have no voice. No one cares.
Absolutely.
They don't make the front page. We watch as much La Liga as I think as anyone. I don't remember. Honestly, I can't remember a single game that goes by in La Liga where someone doesn't get screwed. And no one talks about it, and it happens in a big game, and then everyone loses their minds. Like, I think we need to, there should be a voice for the smaller teams, and to be honest, I think Real Madrid and Barcelona probably have it better than the other teams, but it just gets magnified.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Of course, the big teams everywhere will get favored and get screwed as well occasionally, but we have nothing to complain about in comparison to the smaller teams who get screwed, as you said, on a weekly basis and have no voice. So, it's a debate I stay away from. It's obviously a debate that inevitably sometimes you partake in when it's a Champions League quarterfinal, semifinal, and your team gets screwed because a goal gets disallowed in the last minute or something that could have put your team through to the final. Those hurt, of course, but in the grand scheme of things, that you're an overall more favored than disfavored when it comes to those types of actions, and yeah, we're all just kind of spoiled brats complaining about stuff that we really shouldn't. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, Kiyan.
Guess what we did that you didn't manage to do this season? We won at the Mestalla.
Yes, you did.
Take
yes,
that
you did.
19 points and shove it. Take your.
There you go. Listen, that was a huge win as well because Villarreal, of course, won. So that would have, a loss or a tie, I think, would have meant Europa League, right? Yes.
Maybe. Yeah.
Villarreal is
with
on
our
your
game
heels.
with a game in hand, but yeah, you're right.
With the game in hand, of course, but it was a must-win, and I commend you guys because Madrid looked good. You guys looked really good.
I think we looked. We probably didn't look as good as. I think the scoreline made us look better, and I think the 2 moments of brilliance late on made us look better. Like you had the Asensio Marcelo 2-man game where they had some give and goes. Marcelo scores, that was really nice, and then you had the Kovacic little flick to Kroos one-time cyborg finish, that was beautiful. I think those 2 moments probably masked a game where we actually struggled in the second half in particular, where Valencia were really close to equalizing and scoring more, and Keylor Navas had a really great game to save us and keep us in.
Did.
Yeah.
That was exciting. Obviously, I was praying for the equalizer, but I didn't see it coming despite my excitement because I thought Nacho had a fantastic game.
Oh, yeah. Nacho was the man.
He was great.
Nacho and Varane, 2 constants in season, and they just get put to the sword every single game. We just leave them out to dry, and somehow they still look good instead of suffering. It's those 2 have just been fantastic. Those are 2 of our bright spots this season for sure.
Yeah. And I felt Madrid was, kind of in command, and that's because I wasn't letting myself get carried away in the moment. Obviously, the fans were behind the team, and it was, Valencia, Madrid, Valencia, Barca, those games are just so fantastic to watch. And I'm so happy that Valencia is a powerful force and to be reckoned with. I hope they, continue to do so, to be so, because they're just fantastic matches, and the fans are when they're engaged, they're just up there with the best of them. But again, I felt that Madrid looked in control. They kept their head cool. Ronaldo didn't miss his penalties, and the BBC all around. What I wanted to ask you this: what was up with Benzema's substitution, though? Why? And that's not to put a sour note to this win, but I thought if anybody would not be a sourpuss by being substituted or give a bad face towards Zizou, it would be his biggest backer, as in Zizou has been the biggest defender of Benzema so far this season. Why would he because he was upset, right, for being substituted, or did I interpret that wrong?
No, he was. He
was, right?
It's that what you just said is a good perspective. It's to be upset after all this Zidane defending you to the death is a bit weird. And Zidane,
your biggest backer.
Yeah, but Zidane just kind of brushed off. He admitted, Benzema was mad, but it's not a big deal, and he was happy we won, and that was it. It's chapter closed.
Okay, sure.
Now, I don't know what expectation Benzema had because he is generally one of the subs that always comes off in any game, and basically what Zidane always does is one of the subs is usually Asensio for Benzema. And if not Asensio, then Isco or someone in that mold, and then Ronaldo gets
Bale.
and then Ronaldo gets pushed up higher, and then Bale is the other one who usually comes up for Lucas Vazquez, and the third one is kind of a wild card. But it's you're right.
No, again, not to put a sour note to this because I thought Madrid looked great, the BBC looked as good as old, but that was just something I thought, man, why are you doing that? That's the guy that is defending you a capa espada, as they say in Spain, defending you to the death. And you're kind of, giving the press something to go by now when it should just be a good day all around for you guys.
Who knows? Maybe he was mad at himself for a performance or something he did. Maybe, it's sometimes it's hard to even measure like what he's mad at.
Yeah.
Is he mad at Zidane? Is he mad at himself? Is he mad at something else? That also was a moment where Real Madrid were struggling, I think, and that was when it was 2-1 and Valencia were surging. So maybe, I don't know, he wanted to be a part of it. Who knows? But I think one thing that I will say about this, even though it felt like I didn't think the performance was as good as the result and what people were saying, there were things that we didn't take advantage of in the first half where Valencia pressed us, and it was a good press, but Ronaldo had a ton of space on the counterattack to sling back, and we just couldn't pass it to him, and we couldn't be efficient on the counters. And then we did, when we were efficient on the counters, it led to the penalty where your boy Montoya, with almost a hat trick of penalties conceded, he conceded 2 penalties. But you know what, Diego? Having said all that, I don't think it was an unbelievable performance, but what it was that aura of closing out a game and seeing it out, grinding it out that we had last season almost every game, which we haven't had this season. So it was nice to just have that comfort, be like, oh wow, we can actually mask our second half performance by just turning on a gear, flipping a switch, and scoring a goal or two late on it and securing the victory. We haven't had that all season. So to get that finally was a good sign at this stage of the season. So Valencia's second week in a row, they've dropped points. We closed the gap to 2 points on them with a game in hand. If we win that game, we leapfrog them, and then we're 3 points away from Atleti. Obviously, no Liga, but at least we can qualify for the Champions League, I hope.
You got hope, man. Yeah, no, exactly. That's nothing to scoff at, obviously. And I wanted to point out as well, because I've kind of been making fun of him on this pod and rubbing him in his performance in your face. But I thought that Marcelo, of course, looked also the Marcelo of old. I thought he had a great game.
Offensively, he was good.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned this on last night's Manage Madrid podcast, but we were kind of lucky that Guedes had a bad game. Because if Guedes was on, Marcelo had a lot of space in behind him that could have got exposed. And
I was going to say, do you think that Marcelino kind of ruined it by taking out Soler and putting in Guedes?
Or the other way around. He took out Guedes, put in Soler.
Yeah. Sorry,
I don't think he would have normally done that, but Guedes was injured. And I didn't realize at the time. I realized like a few minutes after the sub was made that Guedes had discomfort and he just couldn't play any further. So that's probably a reason for his performance too. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Carlos Soler came in for the first time in months and actually played pretty well. Picked up the ball right away, was definitely a good reason for Valencia's surge in the second half. Yeah.
What about Zaza?
What about Zaza? We have a question about Zaza. So, question from Chrisan Joseph on Facebook. She says, why do you think Zaza, a.k.a. Brazilian Ronaldo, anytime he plays Madrid, didn't start at the weekend? And what is Kondogbia's chances of making France World Cup squad? So,
that's a great question.
The Zaza question is a really good one. Like, I understand that Santi Mina's been in form, but, Zaza's kind of been in the doghouse in the last month or two. He hasn't been starting every game. He's been coming off the bench, and Santi Mina has been in really good form, and I think he's good. I would be more terrified of Zaza. I would be. Just because he's a nutcase. He gets under the skin of our players, and he scores volleys out of his ass from the halfway mark.
That's it.
Yeah. Kondogbia, I don't know. France is really stacked. This is definitely Kondogbia's best season. There's a lot of players I think will miss out on France's World Cup squad, and Kondogbia might be one of them. I don't know. I'm just trying to think back to the depth chart. So who do they have at that position? They have players like Kante, they have Pogba, Matuidi, Rabiot, and Nzonzi probably won't make it. I don't know. I'm probably blanking on a bunch of names. I don't know. It'll be tough for him to squeeze in. I don't know. Bakayoko can play.
And Nzonzi, man.
Yeah. But it's an
crazy.
Question.
What? Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be an amazing World Cup, and France. And we talked about it on this pod several occasions. Just how stacked France is, and in comparison with Spain as well, it's just in the midfield and up front, just such a stacked team.
Yeah. Do we move on from Madrid now? Should we take another patron question? I have a fun one for you.
Yeah, let's go.
Ivan Garcia has two questions. And one of them is, the first one's pretty fun. So he says, Kiyan, you have to choose one player of Barcelona for Real Madrid. Who would that be and why? And same question for Diego. Which Real Madrid player would you choose? This might be easier for me than it is for you.
I already know your answer.
Who?
Man, the Don.
Paulinho. De lo feo? I mean, it's clearly Messi.
The Don. I said the Don.
No, it's clearly Messi. It's clearly Messi.
Yeah?
It has to be. He's the best player in the world. How
best player ever.
How can it not be Messi?
Because whenever you and I talk off air, you always go on about how Don Andres Iniesta is actually a player that you like of Barca and
yeah, in terms of personality. In terms of footballing ability, I'd imagine if Messi played for Real Madrid, I wouldn't care what his personality was. It's the same way with Figo. You know, we hated him so much. He was like anti-Madridista to the core. And all of that, none of that mattered when he joined us.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
But if it was like from a pure, if like the rule was no Messi, it would be between Busquets, Suarez, or Ter Stegen, I think.
Okay, interesting. Oh, yeah. Dude.
What about you?
So still no Andres Iniesta.
Well, it's because we have Modric, Kroos, and Kovacic and Isco in that position. Yeah.
I see. So Iniesta you would have on the bench.
Well, it's just not as urgent of a need. I'm just going by need on the squad.
So you're going by need.
Yeah,
okay.
I have to go by need, not by talent in a vacuum, just by the need in the squad.
Oh shit! I see. Okay, no, for me because I see. No, that changes my answer. Because my initial answer would have been Asensio, and in fact, I might just still keep that answer, seeing as everyone's still talking about Griezmann, and I still, in an ideal scenario, Asensio will come over. We would talk with Luis Suarez and how, maybe not next season, but the season after that, see if he could accept a, say, Larson type of role where, you know, he could come in and be productive for, say, 20, 25 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and win us Champions League titles. But, yeah, I you know, it's como una espina clavada, as they say here. It's still the splinter in my finger, this whole Asensio thing. And I rate him very highly. I did when he was at Mallorca. I did when he was rumored to come at Barca. And then when he eventually ended up in Madrid, that one hurt. That one hurt a lot. I have a lot of faith in his future and his ability to become everything that, you know, now Madridistas are hoping that he will be. So we'll see. I think it's all down to the right manager as well, and knowing how to use a player like that I still think fits better in a Barca squad as opposed to when it comes to the you know, the style of play than in Real Madrid. But yeah, Asensio will be mine, man.
And under the radar one for you, if you're thinking about future and a transition for Busquets, not that I would let you ever take him away from us, is Marcos Llorente, because I think stylistically he's very similar to Busquets in the fact that he reads passing lanes and likes to distribute quickly. And he's not on Busquets' level, obviously, but I think he can be groomed with the right coach to be a Busquets type player. So
yeah, you always say that, actually.
Yeah. Another question from our patron, Ivan. He says, And apart from Madrid, Barca, could you choose your starting 11 of La Liga players excluding Madrid and Barcelona players? So I don't know if you had a chance to do this, but just in case you didn't, I had one prepared.
Oh, wow. Okay. Go ahead. I have not something. I don't have something prepared, but I'm very curious to know. Puedo aportar un poquito. I can share with you my thoughts a little bit here and there.
You can be the critique of the team.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
Oblak and nets, and this is a 4-3-3. Oblak and then Godin as one of your center backs. An unorthodox selection from my other center backs, Lucas Hernandez, who I thought is one of the most underrated players in La Liga this season. And he can play the center back role, not just the left back role. And
so,
yeah,
can I jump in at any time or no?
Anytime.
So, because Neto's having a very, very good season as well.
It was hard I was trying to figure out what to do with Valencia defenders. And ultimately, I decided to go with Atleti, basically Atleti backline, because their defensive record has just been unbelievable. Now, Neto was, had a good year, especially considering that, we weren't sure how Diego Alves...
his replacement, yeah.
We weren't sure how anyone was going to replace him. Although Diego Alves was more a penalty stopper than an overall good goalkeeper. But
a messy penalty stopper.
I think, the other thing to consider is I think Oblak is, when healthy, just on a level like transcendent above other.
No, he is. I'm being picky, and it probably is more down to Valencia's defense than Neto himself, not taking away anything. But Oblak is the right choice.
Well, it's just like I remember all I want to say is, but Atleti's defense is just has been so solid.
Yeah.
It's the best defense in the league, and that's the one area of the game where they just continue to be really solid. And Godin is the captain, a huge part of that. Obviously, Oblak has less to do, but the eye test with him is unbelievable. And Lucas Hernandez again just has barely put a foot wrong this season.
Yeah.
But I did give a Valencia shout out at the left back position. I put Gaia there.
Okay.
Who am I omitting? Am I omitting anyone there? Johnny for Celta, maybe. I kind of almost have to bring up the La Liga standings to just go by team and remind myself of players. Yeah, I think Gaia is probably the best shout, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
Right back, Odriozola. Low key,
nice, yeah.
Key, yeah. What?
You're not just saying that because he's going to become Madridista in a couple of hours, right?
Well, we don't know that for sure. I don't think. I think if anything happens, it's in the summertime, not now.
Okay.
But it would be nice, man. It would be really nice to have Odriozola on the team. Ashraf is just still way too raw for me. Shout out to Pablo Maffeo, who is low-key having a great season as a bright future.
For sure. Great call.
3-man midfield of Iaramendi, Kondogbia, and Pablo Fornals.
Oh, man, I'm disappointed.
Who else would I put in there? Well, there's a lot of great La Liga midfielders, but I thought those two really stuck out to me.
Yeah, but in your case, I was really hoping that you were going to put Parejo in there, especially in your case.
You know what?
He's gotten so much shit from you. He's having an awesome season.
You know what? Parejo probably deserves to be there. Fornals, it's not his natural role also to play deeper in the midfield. So you could switch out Fornals for... Actually, you know what? I'm gonna shuffle this a bit. I'm gonna put Parejo in there. I'm gonna move Fornals up in the 4-3-3 in the higher position and bump Zaza out. And my front three would be Fornals, Aspas, and Zaza.
Yeah, you're sticking with Zaza, huh?
Sorry, Fornals, Aspas, and Guedes. So Guedes and Fornals, and then Aspas up front.
All right. Good one. Álvaro González having a very good season. for your back line. That's maybe one I would have added. Villarreal, of course, player. In terms of strikers, yeah, Aspas is.
There's a lot.
Rodrigo, maybe.
Rodrigo, I was thinking about Rodrigo, but I think Aspas and Zaza have probably been better. But Rodrigo has scored a lot of goals.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a shout for Rodrigo. I think Zaza, just his leap has been so good this year that I think he deserves a shout there. Look,
as well.
You could go down the list, and there's a bunch of players who you could give like honorable mentions to in this thing. So
these are always
fun, but
yeah. But it's very good, these kind of questions, keeping an eye on the others or the other stars in La Liga that kind of get overshadowed. But nice one.
We tend to overshadow a bunch of these guys because we tend to spend so much time talking about Real and Barca, but there's a lot of good things to talk about, and that's why we've introduced a new rapid fire section. Let's do rapid fire. We have just a few minutes left, and I don't think we have time for any more questions. Anything else you want to bring up before we do rapid fire? Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Rapid fire segment is my notes, like my 10-second notes for every La Liga game that we didn't talk about, which is pretty much every single game except for Real Madrid and Barcelona. And none of these are going to be in Castilla, yeah. And by the way, Castilla had a nice win yesterday, 2-0.
You had to put it in there
against Deportivo Bay.
Yay!
These won't be in a chronological order because I don't watch them in chronological order. So just take it the way it is. Sevilla won, Getafe won. A 93rd minute equalizer from Angel, who continues to be great this season and defy his age. And he kind of came out of nowhere given his track record in La Liga being a journeyman. Leganes 3, Espanyol 2. Mario Hermoso, former Real Madrid Castilla product. 3 goals, 2 of them own goals, and 1 goal of himself. And Espanyol just not enough in the tank in this one to
I mean that was. Yeah. I think this one was really. It was kind of the momentum of maybe the Copa del Rey. Leganes obviously winning, Espanyol going out.
This is true.
That maybe played a factor too, but
this is true. Atleti 3, Las Palmas 0. Las Palmas just kind of regressing to their former selves in this one, playing a high line. A lot of giveaways from deep. Griezmann's almost one of the best almost goals I've ever seen. Did you see it? The one that hit the crossbar was unbelievable. And if he had scored it, it would have been candidate for goal of the season. It was unbelievable. But he missed it. And the story of this game was, I think, basically Atleti exposing Las Palmas' high line. Juan Fran played a great game. He had a great pass to expose the high line on the first goal. Godin was fantastic. Fernando Torres morphed into like the 2007-2008 version of Fernando Torres. He scored a brilliant goal. And also like an underrated story was Koke being subbed off and the game changes and Carrasco comes on. And I thought that he helped Atleti a bit better, just punishing Las Palmas. Depor 2, Levante 2. There were 5 subs in this game within 51 minutes, 4 subs by halftime. Lucas Perez went out for Valverde, and then Sidney came off. He was injured. Celso Borges gets a red card, and that caused Levante to do 2 subs. One quick note on Lucas Perez before he got injured. His set pieces remain one of the most underrated things in La Liga. They're so deadly. And his set piece leads to the first goal for Depor. Andone makes it 2-0 at halftime. And then Levante with an epic comeback with 10 men. 2 goals from Evie and an equalizer in the 84th. And they almost scored a third one too by the end of it. Malaga 0, Girona 0. Complete dud. Nothing happened in this game. It was terrible. I should have been doing other things other than watch this. The only thing I could note was Chori Castro with a really silly red card in the second half. Completely unnecessary challenge. Borja Baston got whistles as he was subbed off. And the last game, because we haven't seen the Monday night game yet. Much more entertaining. Villarreal 4, Sociedad 2. Weird thing about Sociedad, Diego. They started the season on fire, and we were all like, "Oh my God, Sociedad is going to be a force to reckon with." And I remember Real Madrid having to face them in the form they were in. We were terrified. The fans were terrified. We beat them 3-1 in Anoeta pretty comfortably, and they've just fell off the face of the earth since then. They've made so many mistakes, and Tonio was in goal for this one, and he was having a nightmare game. First of all, he gets a nightmare back pass, which Villarreal just snuff out and score. And then the third goal he conceded, he was just completely out of his depth, and he probably just wanted to go home at that point. And Sociedad just looked completely dead, and Castillejo scored a brilliant goal. It was like Gareth Bale-esque, and he continues to look better with every passing game. And that's it. And if we look at it now after week 21, Barcelona obviously comfortably on top. Atleti and Valencia second, third. Real Madrid creeping up behind them. Villarreal not far behind. And Las Palmas and Malaga look like they're going down.
Yeah. Crazy if Malaga does get relegated.
I'm not sure if they see it out, to be honest. They really have to turn it around big time, and I don't know if they can do it. There's just 3 wins. 3 wins this season. They're struggling. And only 14 goals scored. They just can't score, even though they have individual talent up front. And Keiko and Roland and Peñaranda, not the city. They have individual talent, and they just can't score. Concluding thoughts, my friend Diego Lorijn.
La Liga in the bag. One more step closer to grabbing that title by the big ears. I think we can be optimistic about Barca winning a fantastic doblete. I think Valencia will be very tired in this upcoming clash, the semifinal of La Copa. Which allows us to be very optimistic, like I said, to win a fantastic doblete. And dare I say, who knows, we potentially could also reach the latter stages of the Champions League finals, of the Champions League. Who knows the final? I remain optimistic, Kiyan. This team continues to break records, and I know I'm ranting a lot about Barca, but what else is there to say? La Liga is a wrap, and as it is for Madrid, I think all eyes are now set on what will happen in the Champions League. We'll see.
May your very impressive record of not conceding penalties come to an end very soon.
Good conclusion.
Diego Lorijn, always a pleasure, always fun, and guess we'll catch you next week. Stay in touch. Thanks, my friend.
Yes, sir. Likewise, Kiyan. Have a good one.